Hey everyone, what is up? There is a lot happening. Another video, another live stream, another day. Look at this plasma tornado. This is our 3-hour live feed of the sun. So this is happening right now. That's a 8.6 M-class flare from the sun. Massive coronal mass ejection. Interesting thing to note, which the other channels may not talk about, is that we have comet A6 Lemon in line with this sunspot exactly, this angle direction going out and up in the northern hemisphere. So we've been seeing tons of activity from this sunspot group. One big flare from the one in the southern hemisphere, but a whole bunch from this one. And it's all been directed towards that comet, which is doing its perihelion on November 7th. So it's not super far out there and it's just total coincidence. It's going to have its closest approach to the sun on the 7th of November. And we were talking about how we could have a lot of solar activity around the perihelion of interstellar object 3I Atlas. We're starting to get new imagery of it. They're not showing a tail. Now, someone did comment on my Twitter, an amateur astronomer, saying that they got a photo of it with a diffuse kind of light tail. They shared that photo on my Twitter. I'm going to do an update on 3I Atlas tomorrow because there's too much to cover in today's video to include that as well. But I posted those pictures on my Twitter. So you can go to x.com/Stefan Burns Geo. So STEFANBURNSGEO to see that if you want. That seemed to have been a catalyst for solar activity. These sunspots were rotated to Earth facing. Now we have A6 Lemon with this huge plasma tail, dust everything stretching behind it, exactly in line with this sunspot group as perihelion November 8th. So we've been seeing a ton of solar activity. In fact, we're in a G2 geomagnetic storm right now. So we're ready, having a pretty significant solar impact because there were explosions that occurred before this. Back at the very end of October and a little bit earlier, or a little bit after that, we had some stuff that was like, okay, is that Earth direct, is it not? We weren't really sure. We also have a coronal hole high-speed stream rotating slowly into geo-effective position. We see that right here with our imagery. This is our 193 angstrom imagery. This is an area where the solar corona, the outermost atmosphere of the sun, is deficient and it is about to go geo-effective. It's not there yet, but it's close. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to distinguish sometimes solar wind features, but generally when it's in this zone right here, we're not yet connected to it. Typically needs to be a little bit more like right there. So we're probably going to have that hit us within the next 24-36 hours. And these coronal mass ejections that have launched off from the sun, the one earlier today, that one is expected to hit us in about 24 hours from this moment in time, according to the NOAA space weather model, which we have right here. So there are now 4 waves of plasma. This one only shows 3 because we just had that recent plasma tornado coronal mass ejection I showed you. But check this out. We have high velocity coronal mass ejections. Look at the speed on that. This is our scale bar for the velocity, high velocity. And here we see our density. So again, we're going to see 1, 2, and 3 launch. This is from the 1.8x flare, 1.1, and the 7.4 M flare. That one was today. This new one's an 8.6, not in this model. But look at this, how they combine. Hits that co-rotating interaction region, causes a huge increase in the plasma density. That's right there. Look at that massive jump in the plasma density. And that is expected to hit us right around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Universal Time on the 7th of November. You know, adjust for your local time zone. Also notice how this is coming in with a plasma velocity spike. So often if you get a big plasma density spike, the velocity is actually not that high, one or the other, because just space weather dynamics I'm not going to go into in this video. But sometimes with big solar storm impacts, you get high density and high velocity, meaning you get strong geomagnetic storms, which we are in right now, in fact. And so the fact that we are already having these stronger magnetic fluctuations on the planet, and we're at G2 levels right now, that could strengthen. And then you get a major solar storm shockwave to come in that is going to be pretty wild. Here we have our magnetic field fluctuations for the past 3 hours as I'm recording this right now. This is the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November, and it's evening here on the East Coast. These are very powerful in the high latitude zones. This is where you're going to get the aurora. This is our scale bar. So we see it goes from 0 to 400 nanotesla. And actually, because these are all red, they're going off the scale. This is 600, 800, 1,000 nanotesla plus. For a big storm, it can go well beyond that. So we see how we quickly ramped up G1 now in G2 conditions, and that is not basically abating. It's because our solar wind is really strong right now. So we are in a geomagnetic storm. We got solar shock waves to come in. The one that launched earlier this morning was a very nice coronal mass ejection launch. Let's look at that really quick. We have it right here. We actually have all of them. So that was one earlier, and then we get our X-class flares. Look at the time right here. That's the 4th. Here we come into the 5th. There's our full halo that launched this morning. So that one was a partial. That's the one that's probably hitting us right now. And then we get these X flares that also kind of launch some stuff our way, but more to that side. But that full halo is what's expected to come in tomorrow. And this is not showing the most recent coronal mass ejection, which just launched from the sun from that 8.6 M flare, which again, if we go back to our SUVI imagery, we see that, oh my God, boom shakalaka, that is insane. What is happening here? So hey everyone, my name's Stefan Burns. I'm your host, space weatherman, geologist, geophysicist, cosmic bro, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're here talking about what's happening. We look at all the different things. So I approach things from a multidisciplinary perspective. I do deep research in all of them. I do not know everything. I'm just doing my best to put the lines together, to connect the dots basically. That's effectively my job here. I enjoy it. I'm a curious individual and we have fun here. So this is the 8.6 M flare that just occurred, and let's look at it on the chronograph imagery. Again, you do see most of it going here, but there is a full shockwave component around it. You may see that in the 3 or 4 angstrom. Doesn't show up as well, but that is also going to be sweeping by the Earth. So as we were talking about now for a while, it's happening. Basically, it's happening, it's coming, it's big, it's going to be a lot. So here we have our chronograph imagery. That's the first one from this morning. That's certainly going to hit us. That's the 24-hour forecast. And here's our most recent one. So again, it just happened. We're just starting to get the data come out like this. So watch it again. And it looks like it has a pretty nice full halo signature. So it's a little preemptive to say. Again, we saw most of the plasma going up. That's not going to interact with us. It's probably going to smack into A6 Lemon, that comet that's close to the sun right now. But this will probably also give us an enhancement activity. So we have what's happening right now. We'll look at the real-time solar wind. We have the solar storm that's coming in right here. That's expected in 24 hours. And then we have this newest push that's going to add on top of that. And we also have the coronal hole high-speed stream. Let's go to our real-time solar wind. We can see what's happening here. Boom, shakalaka, it's about to go down. Okay, so here we see this. Our solar wind magnetic field strength is going up and up and up. And we see here, we just had a G2 storm, 3 hours of G2 geomagnetic storming, KP index of 6, it goes to 9. You get to 9, you have a G5 extreme storm. And so that is right here with our scale rating. We're in this zone right there, moderate. But once this other one comes in and this other stuff as well, everything, like, it's a perfect convergence, folks. Probably going to go here, right? I think the forecast is going to be G3. I think we're probably going G4. So expect to see some aurora if you live in high latitude zones. We'll talk about that more in just a bit. But we see our solar wind, the magnetic field. This is the total field strength measured in nanotesla, and it went up to a high of about 17 and negative 16 for this southward component. The only thing you really need to know there, if you're just a newbie or you're coming in and you just feel like, hey, what's the T? Okay, it's just we need a strong negative southward component to establish a good connection to Earth's magnetic field. And when you have a strong magnetic field and it's strongly connected to Earth's magnetic field, that's when you get the money and the magic. So we're having this happen right now, and we see that it's maintaining basically, it's 15, 14 nanotesla is about 3 times more than normal. Normal field strength is about 5 nanotesla. So, and it's staying southward. So we are in this geomagnetic storm right now. Here's our plasma density, our velocity, our temperature. We see our density is over 10. Our velocity is about 400 kilometers per second. So nothing special, but the density is pretty high, but not like that spike that the model showed. Again, this no model showing spike nearly to about 40 or so. Now, you have to take these space weather models with a grain of salt because they are not reflective of reality, but they are useful tools for forecasting this. And I would say in general, they're pretty good with their timing. Sometimes they're like a day, even like 36, 48 hours off. But more often than not, they're within about 8 hours of their prediction time. So you got to hand it to them. Overall, they're doing a good job. I don't think maybe they could do really a better job unless they start to incorporate some of the stuff that we talk about, like planetary alignments and the recognition that comets and interstellar objects can trigger solar activity and more. And well, there's also some evidence that they can trigger earthquakes. So we have some interesting foreshock activity right now off the coast of Kamchatka. And that's where we had the magnitude 8.8 megaquake. And that's also just because of that and the other magnitude 7s and 6s and 5s and 4s and 3s and everything, the area of greatest seismic release thus far in 2025, which has been the 6th strongest year for global seismic energy release in our global records, like with modern seismological observations. So this is a big deal. And now you see everything that's been happening here. So let's list all the earthquakes on the map. We see that we just had a magnitude 4.6, and we go to largest magnitude 6.1 on the 3rd, 6.0 on the 4th, another 6.0 of 5.8, 5.7. That is not just indicative of, oh, here's the 6.1 main shock and these are all aftershocks. That's not the deal. This is clearly some sort of preliminary sequence. And that's exactly what we saw back in July. We had a big earthquake in Alaska on the 16th of July. It was a 7.3. Then we had a 7.4 Kamchatka on July 20th. I've been talking about the fact that we are likely to have a megaquake, a magnitude 8 or greater earthquake in the months coming up to this because we were overdue about 4 years. Typically, we get one magnitude 8 earthquake every year. The last one at that time in July was August of 2021. So I was, every now and then I was beating the drum of, hey, megaquake, it's probably coming. Get ready, get ready. Nothing crazy. There's some people are talking about some magnitude 10, ultra, the earth splits asunder, or like the crustal displacement bogus idea, right? There's some people that are just going totally nutso on this stuff. But here we're actually concerned about what could realistically happen on this planet, and some of those are big earthquakes. It doesn't mean that the earth needs to tear apart, okay? So we were talking about the megaquake risk, and then we had this 7.4. We kept getting earthquakes there that was indicative of a foreshock. Few days before that magnitude 8.8, I put out a forecast saying most likely zone for us to get a big magnitude 8, magnitude 8.5 or greater is this location. 3 days later, boom, it happened. Very similar setup right now. That's the whole point of me telling you a story. Very similar setup right now. We haven't had that magnitude 7 foreshock, but all these 6s and 5s is bizarre. And the other reason it's very similar is that we have this coronal hole. This is the same coronal hole that was on the sun that swept through geoeffective, lowered the solar wind density, and then we had that magnitude 8.8 megaquake. And in fact, we have high magnitude 7 plus earthquakes now aligned with that low solar wind density regime after this goes geoeffective for the past 4 or 5 months or so. So it's still there. It's transequatorial, meaning it's definitely going to hit us with its solar wind. And it's also of a negative polarity, which, as I just mentioned earlier, you may recall, is the magnetic field configuration needed to connect to Earth's magnetic field. So it's about to go geoeffective. Look at these explosions occurring, right? These solar flares, don't forget, here's the other thing, like it's multifactorial. Every single one of these explosions, which we call solar flares, emit a bunch of light photons. So those hit Earth within 8.3 minutes. They travel in straight lines. Plasma and particles, they travel along magnetic field lines. They move with the electric field, but a photon just goes straight So even if it's on the limb, or even like one of them exploded from beyond here, we'll see this when it resets. If it can hit Earth along with a straight vector, it hits Earth. So 8.3 minutes after these explosions, you get that to hit Earth's ionosphere. This is extreme ultraviolet light. This is also X-ray light, very highly vibrational, basically absorbs into whatever it interacts with instantly. The outermost atmosphere of the Earth absorbs it. It creates more ions, and that overall then generates stronger electric fields, primarily in the high latitude regions, the polar cusp areas. But overall, the entire ionosphere of the Earth charges up. This is a capacitor setup. You have this shell of high conductivity around the Earth, the ionosphere. The Earth itself is quite conductive due to geologic materials and minerals and soil and rock, etc. You know, it's about 10 to negative 5, 10 to negative 6, 10 to negative 7 Siemens in conductivity. The ionosphere is also about 10 to negative 7 Siemens in conductivity. The atmosphere in between, the troposphere, where we walk around, we laugh, we play, everything, that's like 10 to negative 14 Siemens. Orders of magnitude different, very resistive. So when you get the ionosphere to charge up more and become more conductive, you are strengthening that electric current that flows from the ground surface to the ionosphere both ways. It depends on the charge, whether it's positive or negative, which way the flow is. But you get this electric field gradient to strengthen. You don't think that interacts with the Earth and influences perhaps earthquake activity? Well, it does. So you have that factor as well. The very fact that the ionosphere is charging up strengthens the overall global electric circuit, and then you get these coronal hole high-speed stream impacts, which lower the solar wind density, and now the Earth is in a bit more of like a void in terms of particle pressure and energy around it. That seems to cause some sort of expansion that, you know, if the Earth is doing some sort of energy expansion, boom, you get an earthquake. And well, this time we're getting big solar storm impacts on top of it too. So that's the other like X factor here, literally with these X-class flares, is that we're getting these strong solar storms. Here we have our X-ray flux as measured by the GOES satellites, and we see our recent flares here. This is our 1.8 X-class flare, the first X-class flare that we've had since June 19th of this year. So boom, 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 we are rocking. Now at 1.1 right there, this is a, what is this, a 7.4 M-class flare and then an 8.6 M-class flare. All of these have launched coronal mass ejections. All of them have been significant. So these two are more off to the side. You actually have to go back, look at our 7-day view, because we launched something Earth directed here. That's what's hitting us right now. These are probably going to give us the slightest of flank impacts, but not really much. This one for sure is hitting us. This one looks like it will as well. I will keep you up to date on that as these models come out. We can quickly check our NASA website. It just happened. I'd be blown away if they did it this quick, but we don't see our M8.6. We don't see a CME model yet in their database, unfortunately. And let me just show you directly what I've been talking about. You can kind of forecast solar activity out based off of sunspots. Like you see a big sunspot, you see its activity, like, okay, we have this chance of flares, this, that, whatever. But in terms of forecasting things further out, you can't, well, the moment you're like 2 weeks away, like it's 2 weeks in the future, 2 months in the future, whatever, you can't really forecast solar activity that well. You can go off of like the overall solar cycle, and there are some planetary resonances with Venus and Jupiter that are interesting. Like a solar cycle is about the same orbital period of Jupiter, right? So there's some connections there. But you have to look at other factors. And one of the things that we know is that, for example, comets are going to be at their location when they're going to do it, unless they have extreme off-gassing that causes non-gravitational acceleration changes, right? So A6 Lemons, like, hey, we know it's going to be at perihelion November 8th. 3i Atlas, we know it's going to be at perihelion October 29th. We knew that going back to basically the moment we found it. We could calculate its orbit. So I use that to basically say, hey, we have a much higher likelihood there being solar activity during that perihelion from superior conjunction to perihelion October 21st to the 29th. And then, well, we did. It was all towards 3i Atlas, which makes sense. Now the sunspots have rotated here, and now all the activity is actually towards A6 Lemon, We just happen to be getting caught in the crosshairs because we're right here, right? If we were over there, we wouldn't be getting hit, but we're right here in the zone, and these plasma waves really expand out. So based off of this so far, and we've talked about this for more than just like a couple weeks. We've been talking about the connection between solar activity and comets going back to last year, perhaps even the year before. You know, I'm not 80 years old. I haven't been doing this forever, but it's not like it's a new thing that we just picked up 2 days ago. So there's a lot of examples of this, a ton of examples of this that you can look through the record and see how solar activity is connected to comets and their closest approach and angles and everything. So that's one thing that you can use to forecast solar activity. And then as it relates to like these earth changes here, you look at the historic record of earthquakes, you keep an eye on it, and then you watch for anomalous behavior, which is what we've been getting, and you kind of keep track of the coronal holes and the high-speed stream impacts and the where they are on the sun and everything, and you can kind of piece everything together. So that's what we do on the channel. If you like that, then please subscribe. Now let's check out our aurora, because we have a heightened chance of increased aurora going forward. Here we see, well, yeah, I think they're actively updating it right now. Let me refresh this and let's see what we got. So I think they just updated this for this G2 storm that's happening right now. Could strengthen to G3. Like, we could already start being in a G3 storm soon. We'll see. We'll just have to see. Definitely G2 levels based off of the solar wind. Here we have tomorrow night's forecast. This, I think, is going to get upgraded to be bigger. They're showing their forecasted KP index being a 7. That's a G3 geomagnetic storm. I'm thinking G3 is the minimum here because we're already in a G2. And then we got like some big stuff coming in plus more. And we don't know what other flares are going to occur. I think we have more solar flares. I don't think we're done. So tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, like, it's going to keep going most likely. That's the base case. So this is going to take some time. Like, this geomagnetic storming is going to be probably fairly long duration. It has started. It has begun. It's happening. So I would probably put this at like a just bigger. I put this as bigger. It's also right now the full moon. So happy full supermoons, the beaver moon. I've been talking about this. Full moons increase geomagnetic activity. Not by much, but by a little bit. And that's because it's in the magnetic field, in the magnetotail, interacting with the plastosphere, pumping more light into the planet, just in general, increasing the energy on our planet. So you have that factor as well. We have the Taurus meteor stream. Tons of people are seeing these fireballs coming, each one of those forming a bunch of plasma in the atmosphere, charging it up more. So take all those factors into account. We got some big geomagnetic storming coming right now. And that's the thing. God bless them, but they don't take any of these other factors into account for some reason. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why. I literally, I have no idea why. So that's our aurora forecast. And if we look here for the United States, I know the world is more than the United States, but this is what I have some data for. And, you know, 60% of you are from the United States of America, still in a government shutdown. Here is our cloud cover. So blue areas are where we have low clouds, okay? And then gray is where we have clouds coming in. Here we set this for today. Watch out how we have some clouds kind of sweep over the area like this. So we're going like this. So if we go back to right here, this is tomorrow night. If you're on the East Coast, this is where I am right now, hopefully we can see some aurora, even maybe tonight, but definitely tomorrow night. Make an effort to see some aurora if you can, if you have a cloud-free sky, even like down to these zones here. If you live in, let's say Texas, dark sky regions in the Southwest, you have a good shot. If you're up here, for sure you do. If you're in Canada, you got clear skies, like, get out there and do it. Bundle up. It's going to be cold, but you are going to be in for a treat. If you're in Alaska, the same. Europe, much higher latitude for Europe. Russia, like, you all have good chance of seeing some really incredible aurora over the next 2, 3, 5 days. I mean, this is probably going to take some time. So we can see also where this recent solar flare hit in terms of its light radiation. And this is our D region absorption model. I'm not sure it's going to show the first X flare or this first M flare from today. But here is one at 2208. Yeah, so that is our most recent 8.6 M flare right there, hitting the Pacific Ocean, which is where we also had an X flare hit. So a lot of energy there. Remember, the ocean is very conductive. Seawater is super conductive. It's like 1 or 3 Siemens, something like that. So very conductive. All that energy got pumped right into the ionosphere, and then induced electric currents there, which induced electric currents in the ocean water. So a lot of cool things happening at this moment in time, but it could result in some really powerful shakeups. Definitely geomagnetically with these geomagnetic storms, it could also result in some stuff happening with earthquakes. And keep in mind too, another keep in mind is that these volcanoes here on the Kamchatka Peninsula have been some of the most active in the world, because we have a bunch of them popping off. Some of them haven't erupted for hundreds of years. And there's volcanic activity that was building up before the megaquake. So back in July, like you have May, June, July, I think it was Kremensky volcano, I'd have to look, or maybe it was Shiveluch volcano. One of them was building up an activity and then peaked right as that megaquake occurred, July 29th, and then it's kind of settled off since. But it was clearly like a leading indicator of that earthquake. So the two are very much connected. So the fact that we're having renewed earthquakes swarming at a pretty significant level, these are mag 6s, guys. Earthquake swarms like this typically don't include magnitude 6 earthquakes. It's like magnitude 4 or 4.5. Maybe you're pushing 5. Wow. So this could be indicating not only some sort of earthquake event, also perhaps a volcanic event. And there are times in history where you have a big volcano and then it becomes a caldera. And where did the volcano go? It gets exploded up into the stratosphere as dust and ash and creates a volcanic winter. That happens 1485. We also have the year without a winter back in 1816. So these things, they happen. They happen. We should be prepared for that. Doesn't mean that we want it. I certainly don't want a volcanic winter, but we should be prepared for it. And we can feasibly, there were warning signs. Now we have the equipment, the technology, the know-how, the science, right? Back then, I'm sure people living by one of these volcanoes that erupted for probably 2 years before that are like, wow, the ground's shaking a lot, right? But we just don't have good records of this. So we're really kind of flying blind in many ways nowadays. We also have Campi Flegrei in Italy being very active. We don't see, there actually hasn't been that many earthquakes, but a lot of like gas activity recently and uplift and stuff. But it has been increasing in earthquake activity year by year, more so and more so. So there is that. But in terms of like the past 2 weeks, past month, there hasn't been really any notable earthquakes for Campi Flegrei. Earthquakes in Turkey, and so this 6.3 in Afghanistan. This is going back to the 2nd of November. We have our 1 week graph up here. So this is the big area of activity right now though. And I am just looking at it very closely because it feels very reminiscent to what happened in July. That's the thing. It's very, very similar setup to what happened in July, except actually more intense. More intense with the solar storm impacts, the charging of the ionosphere. So yeah, things are looking pretty wild there. Now, I want to have just let you know an announcement is that we are closing out our earthing shoes because we've had problems in terms of the tariffs. So we have a whole bunch of stock in the United States and we're closing it out. So I've reduced the price on the earthing shoes, the boots and the sandals, the sizes, colors, and everything that we have. We don't have much, but they're super reduced in price. And we're just trying to basically get them out to people so they don't go to waste. So if you would like to pick up some earthing shoes or sandals, for the men, there are no boots available. You see that the sandals looks like they're, we have quite a selection of sizes actually for the men. We see that the shoes, there's only a few sizes left. So we have these available, and for the women too. So make sure if you've been wanting to pick up earthing shoes and they were out of stock and you were like, hey, when are they coming back? This is your last chance right here. And then also the we have tons of herb coffee right now. So we're mixing up herb coffee. It's easy for us to make this. We're still waiting on lotus flower to come in and some other ingredients for the spirituality, which is out of stock. But the herb coffee is great. It's awesome. So if you've been wanting to pick some up, now's the time to do it because it's super fresh and we're making new batches all the time. So it's 50% single origin Peruvian coffee. It's also chicory root, dandelion root, lion's mane mushroom. Really good for anything neurocognitive, building new neural connections, has less digestive problems with normal coffee. It actually helps your digestive system. Coffee has fiber, but you add in the chicory root, the roasted dandelion root, good stuff for you. Optimizes that microbiome, gut-brain axis. You won't get an energy crash in the afternoon. This stuff is awesome. Big seller, so I would recommend you pick some up if you find that interesting. It's really an awesome nootropic. So that is the announcement, and also our Cosmos Within t-shirts. This is our latest merchandise. If you find this interesting, I recommend you pick it up. Just with your intuition, you know it's because there's a lot of sacred geometry built into this. We see the Fibonacci spiral right over the solar plexus. Artwork on the back by my father, Lee Burns here. The moon, Venus, and Jupiter there in alignment over the Great Pyramids also comes in midnight blue, sizes up to 4XL. So this is also a fantastic shirt. I love wearing this shirt. I just got my white shirt back in stock as I gifted my white shirt to Beall, and I'm on his podcast tomorrow. It's a super long video that I did with him. It's like a 3.5 hour long podcast. I don't know, maybe they cut down to like 3 hours or so, but we talk about everything. So if you want like an in-depth video on all this and more, and you're insatiable, you need more information, you're like, this is so fascinating, I never learned this, like, let's go, I want to get fully caught up, this is a pretty good place to start. It's not live yet. It premieres tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll link this in the video description. It's also, I add every single podcast appearance to my podcast appearances video playlist, so you can also check that out. But Matt's a great guy, and so I recommend that you give him a follow and more. So that is the update for today. I've been your host, Stefan Burns. We're in a G2 geomagnetic storm. We've had four big solar flares. The most recent 8.6 M flare. The last two have been Earth directed. We have that big solar shock wave coming in about 24 hours or so. That's the estimated forecast. That forecast is for a G3 storm. I think it's going to be stronger. We have the full supermoon, the Tauri meteor stream, ionospheric charging. We have unusual earthquake activity off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia. That's suggestive of something bigger coming. So just a lot happening right now. I will keep you up to date every step of the way. We have 3i Atlas nearby. We have A6 Lemon performance perihelion on November 7th. I'll probably do a 3i Atlas update tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe to catch that. And without any further ado, I bid you farewell. Thank you all. Wishing each and every single one of you well. Please take care of yourselves. I'll see you all in the next video.